as part of our 10th anniversary Lookback, we covered films and video games last issue. So if you haven't watched that, go back and watch that. We've picked some quality films and video games from the year 2016. But we're also going to be looking at comics and TV a little bit later on this episode. But Keith, as our comics creator and
reader,
curator, who does our Wednesday Comics Roundup on the website every Wednesday, so check that out and check out the feed on Instagram as well. But you picked some gems from 2016 which came out, which you particularly enjoyed. A decade
you went incredibly in depth.
Above and hours of research. Yeah. I mean, it was an interesting year, 2016. I can't believe it's 10 years, as it is.
This was the height of Marvel at the cinema, wasn't it?
Which, to be counter-intuitive, is most of the titles I'm going to be talking about. I got nothing to do with Marvel whatsoever. They were doing their thing, and it was kind of all right. But they were kind of chugging along, and it was like wasn't a particularly inspiring time for Marvel Comics. They were doing their now range, and it was okay, but not great.
No, that's what I call Marvel.
Yeah, no, that's what I call Marvel.
Volume 200. Sorry, phase 216.
Yeah.
But one of the great things about 2016, it did bring us the graphic novel story of Tetris. It was subtitled "The Games People Play." It was created by a guy called Box Brown, and it's just predated the whole kind of film that came on later. And it basically was just the graphic novel version of the history of Tetris, which is quite an interesting read. It was even considered and voted for as one of the best graphic novels of 2016. So if you kind of are interested in the history of Tetris, it's worth checking out. It's beautifully illustrated. It's a very kind of simple illustrated style, kind of all like bold colours. It really works with the story.
4 kind of blocks. It's kind of hard to write a story around Tetron.
But it's an interesting story. The kind of evolution of the game itself and how it came about and stuff is quite an interesting story.
Because I know the film is about getting the formation of the Tetris company, basically. Yeah. So it's about how did it get out of the Soviet Union and reach the West and all that sort of stuff.
A lot of that is covered in the graphic novel, but it's a nice, the way it's done, the use of colour is really good. It's very kind of simplistic.
But does it do the thing that the film does, where right at the end it tells you the fate of everyone involved and you realise just how dodgy half the people involved were? No. Like Robert Maxwell, for instance.
Yeah. It doesn't quite go that, but it's definitely worth a read if you can track down a copy. I've not seen one for years, but I think it probably would still turn up in your kind of Waterstones kind of stuff. It's kind of one of those kind of graphic novels that are in bookshops. It's not really comic-y.
A worthy graphic novel, as some people might phrase it.
One of the other key titles for me in 2016 was when it started the kind of wild west of Batman crossovers. Because we get Batman crossing over with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the first time.
That kind of works.
Which is kind of cool.
Ninjas at night. I mean, one of them's about the four.
It's really nicely done because it's not based on the kind of in continuity Batman that was kicking around at the time. It was kind of based on the Batman adventure, so it's more the cartoon style.
Not 1966 Batman.
No, it was more like the animated Batman. It's kind of written by Matthew K. Manning and art by John Somilva, and his art was very much in keeping with the animation style, particularly the later seasons of Batman the Animated Adventure when it went more kind of angular and kind of solid. That's really good, and that's kicked off loads. We've had kind of 2 or 3.
Yes, I think Batman's fought aliens at some point.
Oh yeah, this year is also the anniversary of him kicking around with Judge Dredd.
Yep.
Which is another one we could talk about, but that's not 10 years. That's much longer than 10. Which is really good because I really enjoy these books because they are fun and it works really well. The Turtles and Batman crossing over. It's kind of a nice way of kind of bringing those 2 worlds together. Gotham City and New York sewers all kind of merges together quite nicely, which is kind of cool. But it also was the year where Paul Dini, in a brilliant segue that I hadn't planned, but it just worked out that way. Paul Dini was one of the main people behind the Batman the Animated TV series. And sometime after that, he was mugged and nearly killed. And he took that experience and turned it into Dark Knight, a true Batman story, which kind of tells a very kind of semi-autobiographical story about that attack, how he survived, and is brilliant in the way it takes...
Did he become Batman?
He's visited by Batman whilst he's in hospital.
Did that really
happen?
happen?
It really happened for him. But what's great about it is the fact that it kind of takes how significant that character is and how a lot of people have used or associate Batman in a way that kind of helps them through situations. So the idea of Batman helping Paul through this whole experience and the idea and all of that kind of stuff. It's really nice. It's illustrated by Eduardo Risso, which is beautifully done. It's kind of a more painterly art style, and it kind of really suits the thing. It was just a one-shot kind of issued through Vertigo, but I got a hardback edition when that came out because I was kind of interested because it was kind of like part fiction, part reality, and I hadn't really known about what had happened to Paul, because it was pretty bad. I think at one point he was very close to not recovering, but it's just the way how that character pulled him through this whole series of events and led him to kind of be able to cope with it and deal with it and kind of, you know, figure his way through it. It's that kind of story of trauma, which is everybody knows is the origin story of Batman. He goes through a pretty significant trauma, and it's that kind of relatability of a character, you know. And this is the thing about comics: there's a lot of things, same as any medium really. There's things in it that kind of speak to us as human beings and help us through situations or whatever it is, which is really nice as well.
Yeah, I was just looking through it. It was talking about he was working on Mask of the Phantasm at the time, calling back to our previous one. And it crosses over with the kind of whatchamacallit universe, Death Dream.
Yeah, it's all the Vertigo stuff and the kind of Sandman things as well. Yeah, so you get other kind of like tertiary characters pop in, but it's a really nice book. It's beautifully illustrated. Is emotionally powerful. It's really good. There's moments in it where you just go, damn, you know, this is pretty. What's it? So it's a really great book. Yeah, definitely worth reading. But DC continued through 2016 to have some really good, interesting events happening. They'd, in the previous years, reinvented their universe in New 52, which I didn't like. Terrible. Superman didn't have pants on. It just
like
didn't
Cavill
work.
Superman.
Yeah, it's
He
not
was
good.
just full Winnie the Poohing, was he?
Yeah, he was Winnie the Pooh in it. Yeah, it was just a very loose T-shirt with the Superman symbol on. Yeah, just the cape dropping around. But in 2016, they kind of rebooted their universe again, partly coming out of stuff that was happening with Dr. Manhattan. I don't get into it too much. Dr. Manhattan and the Watchmen universe was happening over here, and then it came into so there was a whole kind of thing, and there's a whole lot of kind of like more convoluted story than we've got time to go into about Alan Moore and the Watchmen and all those characters and stuff. So they relaunched with DC Rebirth, which they kind of re-kicked off their whole continuity yet again. I found this one much more interesting than the New 52. They did a lot of interesting things. They changed some characters around. They kind of brought back Wally West, who had been kind of in the wilderness for a bit. They reinvigorated all the costumes. They reinvigorated all the creatives. And so it kicked off quite a good period for DC in terms of what they were doing. So it's really, really good. Up until now, where we're kind of in the DC All-In, which is even better. So DC's been kind of on a bit of a roll since 2016 in terms of doing some really interesting things with their characters. Doing some interesting stuff with Aquaman, doing some interesting stuff with Wonder Woman. They've kept that going, which is really good. But for me, the best thing that happened in 2016 was the introduction of the Young Animals imprint from DC, which most people will probably not have heard of. But they may have heard of the guy who was behind it all, a certain gentleman by the name of Gerard Way, who most people will know as the lead singer.
As the creator of the Umbrella Academy.
He's also the creator of Chemical, but most people will know him as the lead singer of My Chemical Romance.
Yes.
So he'd done the Umbrella Academy a few years before, but he was given the reins to kind of bring back some of the classic older Vertigo titles, which he bracketed under the Young Animals title, which for me was brilliant because he brought back the Doom Patrol and did a fantastic job with the Doom Patrol, kind of similar to what he was doing with Umbrella Academy, but Doom Patrol much more in the sense of kind of the Grant Morrison, Rachel Pollack version of the Doom Patrol, which was great. That was incredibly brilliant. He brought back Cave Carson, where he was working with the guy who had illustrated Powers before, which I've forgotten for the moment. Brought back Shade, but Shade as a girl instead of a bloke. Got interested in a new character called Mother Thing, I can't remember. Mother Panic, that's it. Some of the New God stuff. He did Bug, who was one of kind of the New God's characters that Jack Kirby had came up with. And there was a whole range of these titles, which was good. And they did a whole crossover thing, which was really interesting. At one point they were interacting with the Justice League and whatever it is, but this is a few years on from 2016. But I really, really loved the Young Animal imprint. It's one of my favourite. If you were reading the Wednesday comics at the time, you would often find a Doom Patrol or a Cave Castle or whatever it is.
So saying it was good and therefore not okay.
It was really
I've been
brilliant.
sitting on that joke for ages.
Right. Does the Doom Patrol comic series kind of follow that kind of version, or is it?
No, it's kind of wild and crazy in its own way. He introduces some newer characters as well, of his own design. But it was great. I loved the Doom Patrol. It was really good. I mean, they keep people like Danny the Street, who becomes Danny the Ambulance, and there's like it's wild and crazy. But I really loved the Young Animal imprint. It was really good. Didn't last as long as I would have liked. It kind of stopped, but I guess that's because Gerard had other things to be doing. But DC were having a wild time.
He's got a single note to play on the piano repeat.
But DC were having a wild time in 2016, so it was kind of good. You know, Marvel were kind of being left in their dust a little bit. I think, you know, because of the focus on the TV stuff, but
on the studio side.
Yeah. So those were kind of the highlights for me of that 2016 comics period. Some really great titles that kicked out, and if you can go back and read some of the New 52 stuff, definitely read The Dark Knight, which is not spelt with the K. It just says dark, not dark. It was a dark night.
Yes.
But that's a really, really great story. Just it is a brilliant way of showing the power of comics. You know, to help people through
Tough times.
Yeah. So it's really good.
I'll pop links to in the description below. So go to geekybrummie.com for the companion article for this podcast/vodcast, and all the links will be in there if you want to check out those titles. Thank you, Keith. The Geeky Brummie podcast is presented by Rowan Parrish, featuring Keith Bloomfield, Lee Price, and Matt Lovell. It's produced by Vivian Parrish and recorded at Millennium Point in Birmingham. You can find more information about Geeky Brummie at our socials at Geeky Brummie and on our website at geekybrummie.com. This has been a Geeky Brummie production. Ta-ra, Ribbit.